Hello everyone, I am Be Better Gamer. Welcome to Be Better Gamer Wrestling. This channel is dedicated to the classic series of N64 wrestling games developed by Aki Corporation, such as WrestleMania 2000, WWF No Mercy, WCW vs. NWO World Tour, WCW NWO Revenge, Virtual Pro Wrestling 64, and Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, which is what I'm playing today in anticipation of the Super J Cup tournament, which is happening tomorrow. As I record this, it's Monday night, but I'm gonna be uploading it Tuesday, and Wednesday is the Super J Cup. So here's my Super J Cup. I've taken all the past competitors of the Super J Cup that are in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, and I've done my own little tournament, single elimination tournament, which is the format of the Super J Cup. Much different than the Best of the Super Juniors tournament that recently passed, and I did a Let's Play on that. And I did a Let's Play, my last Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 Let's Play was on the G1 Climax. Both those tournaments, they follow a round-robin format, you know, a league format, if you will. That's what they call it in this game. Super J Cup is more like a single elimination, King of the Ring style tournament, and it's a lot different than the Best of the Super Juniors, because the Super J Cup, it doesn't happen often. It's only happened a few times in the past, 20 years? Oh, more than that. The first Super J Cup was the 1994 Super J Cup. Very influential, very infamous tournament these days. The 1995 Super J Cup followed that, and then you didn't see another Super J Cup until the year 2000. We had another one in 2004. The last J Cup was in 2009. That's over 7 years ago. So you can see there's a lot of gaps with the J Cup. So of all the competitors in the game, there's actually only 13 wrestlers in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2 that have been in the Super J Cup. But since I've created Wild Pegasus, aka Chris Benoit, and Black Tiger II, aka Eddie Guerrero, I figured I'd add them into the Super J Cup, because Wild Pegasus actually won the 1994 Super J Cup, and Black Tiger competed in the 94 Super J Cup as well. And I decided, going through all the tournament participants of the past Super J Cups, it really came down to Wild Pegasus and Liger, who I was going to play as, because they've both won the tournament. Wild Pegasus won the 94 tournament, Liger won in 95 and in 2000, and then now Naomichi Marufuji won in 2004 and 2009. Very interesting, because Marufuji is now in this year's G1 Climax, in the year that we have the Super J Cup revival. So many crazy things about that, so many crazy things in general, the fact that we have the J Cup. So that's why I wanted to do this Let's Play, because I wanted to talk a little bit about the history of the J Cup, what it means to me, what I'm most excited about this year's J Cup, and just the state of junior heavyweight wrestling in the world, cruiserweight wrestling in the world. I've talked about this in my Best of the Super Juniors Let's Play, but I'm going to reiterate it. I just watched the first episode of the Cruiserweight Classic. That's basically WWE's Super J Cup. WWE, they got all these different competitors from all over the world. There's only like, less than a handful of guys that are actually working paid contract under WWE that are in the tournament. Everyone else is from all these different independent promotions. You got guys from Japanese promotion, Mexican promotions, guys from all over the world, Australia, Argentina. It's crazy, and that's basically what the Super J Cup was. The Super J Cup, it was started in 1994. It was originally the idea of Jushin Thunder Liger. He was representing New Japan. A lot of junior heavyweights in the early 90s were getting a lot of steam with the Best of the Super Junior tournaments, and Liger wanted to do a tournament not just showcasing some of the top New Japan juniors, but he also wanted to invite a lot of the juniors from all the different promotions. Early 90s, you got to look back at the early 90s. It was an insane, hotbed, if you will, of all these great cruiserweights that we know of today. You're talking, the first Super J Cup had guys like Hayabusa, Super Delphin, Gato, Dean Malenko, Taka Michinoku, Black Tiger, Wild Pegasus, Ricky Fuji, Negro Casas, El Samurai, Great Suzuki, Masayoshi Motegi, and it was just half those guys, even more than half, are like legit cruiserweight Hall of Famers. You know what I mean? Like, they all went on to do amazing things and influenced in it, 2 generations, if you will, if you think about it, of wrestlers. Even today, a lot of wrestlers, a lot of cruiserweight wrestlers, junior heavyweight wrestlers, even heavyweight wrestlers look at guys like Liger and Benoit and Guerrero and all these guys as influential into their careers. So it was a very important event. It was meant to be a one-off event, and it was meant to showcase all these great junior heavyweights around the world, but it proved to be so popular. I mean, the finals match between Wild Pegasus and Great Suzuki got a 5-star rating from the Wrestling Observer. The Great Suzuki Liger match is great. The Hayabusa Liger match is really fun because Hayabusa, you could tell, seemed kind of very nervous because he messed up a few of his spots, but he was still, I mean, this is early Hayabusa, he was still doing all those crazy spots that he would become known for. Wild Pegasus and Black Tiger had a great match in that. Gato and D. Malenko had a great match in that. It was El Samurai, Great Suzuki. You can actually watch, if you've never seen the 1994 Super J Cup, you can go on New Japan World. You can subscribe. They're just like the WWE Network. And New Japan World has the entire Super J Cup, every single match, in a playlist right now, right on their homepage. I watched it. I rewatched the Super J Cup, all those matches, about a month or so ago. They didn't have this playlist when I did it, so I had to go through like the tags and find it. But now they have a nice little playlist in preparation for this year's tournament. It was very influential to me as a fan of wrestling because I didn't discover the J Cup, the 94 J Cup, until about a few years later, maybe around 97, 98, when I really started getting into tape trading. I've mentioned in my other Let's Plays, with tape trading, buying these VHS tapes that people were making compilation videos. And here we go. So I just beat Jado. Black Tiger wins his match against Gran Aniwa. I was so excited about that when that happened. None of this was planned. I'm, simulating all these matches. Hayabusa beats Gato. That's awesome. I'm rooting for Ultimo Dragon here. Is he going to beat Kanemoto? Yes, he does. Liger gets a bye. I seeded this tournament. It was very scientific. Liger gets a bye. Super Delphin and El Samurai could go either way for me, but I think El Samurai wins. Yes, he does. Great Suzuki and Taka Michinoku. Great Suzuki, he's been in several tournaments, Super J Cup tournaments, and he gets upset here by Taka Michinoku. That's an upset to me. Sema and Otani. Sema a top seed. Sema making it to the finals of the the 2000 J Cup, and he wins his match. So here I go, Wild Pegasus and Black Tiger. So I chose Wild Pegasus. I was talking about it a little bit earlier. I chose Wild Pegasus because basically you had Wild Pegasus and Liger, the only guys in Virtual Pro Wrestling 2, that have won the tournament. Technically, Liger's the only one because I had to create Wild Pegasus. But I figured since I did for my Best of the Super Juniors Let's Play, I played as Liger. Might as well play as Wild Pegasus. Show off my CAW skills, my creative wrestler skills. Basically, I used Benoit's moveset from across the 3 games that he appeared in. He was in World Tour, Revenge, and WWF No Mercy. I'll have a link to both these CAWs, Black Tiger and Wild Pegasus. This is basically reenacting the 1994 Super J Cup match between the two, and they've also faced off in the Best of the Super Junior tournaments. So that's why I went with Wild Pegasus, and I was really hoping that this match would happen, that I would get Wild Pegasus against Black Tiger, because not only did it just work out that way in the seeding, that they would be kind of, meeting each other the second round in a perfect world scenario, but also it's my 2 CAWs going at it, and I wanted to also showcase how well my Black Tiger CAW would do against myself. As always, I'm playing on the expert difficulty. So, I take pride in my CAW, so this is great. I get to show it off. And again, in the description below, if you just scroll down to the bottom, I'll have links to my Wild Pegasus CAW and my Black Tiger CAW. You can also find it in the playlist in my video, so it's not that hard to find. You just gotta click a few button presses. But anyway, getting back to the J Cup. So yeah, back in like 97, 98, I'm gonna say, I don't remember the exact year. It could have been earlier than that. But when I started doing tape trading, I've also mentioned in the past in my Let's Plays that when I was watching WCW and I was watching all the cruiserweights, I was inspired to seek out who these people were. You know, Jushin Thunder Liger, Ultimo Dragon. You know, all these guys. Obviously, they're not American wrestlers. They're from Japan. They're from Mexico. Who is Juventud Guerrero? Who is Rey Mysterio Jr.? Where are they from? What have they been doing? And I started seeking out their footage via tape trading, seeing Rey and Juvi's work in the ECW, seeing Jushin Thunder Liger in Japan and New Japan Pro Wrestling, and it wasn't soon after I started following that I stumbled upon the 1994 Super J Cup. I remember getting that VHS and just like being in cruiserweight heaven. You know, like a lot of these guys, I didn't know who they were at the time. I didn't know who El Samurai was. I didn't know who, you know, Ricky Fuji was, or Otani, or Gato. I didn't know who any of these guys were. I just knew of Liger because of the stuff I've seen, and obviously, you know, Benoit, and knowing that Eddie Guerrero was under the Tiger Mask, and also probably Taka Michinoku and Dean Malenko. But everyone else was completely new to me, and I was super excited, no pun intended, to see this tournament and blown away. And then I automatically seeked out the 1995 tournament, and Chris Jericho's in that tournament, you know, as Lionheart, and that's how I got exposed to Jericho's work in Japan, when I discovered that he was wrestling as Lionheart in Japan. Dos Caras is in the 95 Super J Cup. Ultimo Dragon makes his appearance in the 1995 Super J Cup. That's where I find out about Damien 666 and Grand Naniwa. Even Funaki is in the 95 tournament. So the 95 tournament is really cool. Liger goes on to win that tournament. He defeats Gato in the finals, but in the semifinals we have Liger against Ultimo Dragon, another classic matchup between the two. And I think the 95 Liger Ultimo Dragon match kind of solidified, you know, those two guys being my top favorite cruiserweights, next to Rey Mysterio, obviously, of the time. And especially even to this day, I still love Ultimo Dragon. I still love Liger. Ultimo Dragon, definitely one of my personal favorites of all time. Gato and Wild Pegasus had a fantastic match in the 1995 semifinals as well. And even Wild Pegasus and Lionheart, you know, Jericho and Benoit always had great chemistry. I think I've talked about that 1,000 times on my channel. But if you really want to see another true gem, go watch the 1995 Super J Cup match between Lionheart and Wild Pegasus. It is spectacular. So that really influenced me, the Super J Cup tournament. And then that's what turned me on to the other tournaments, because tournaments are such a big deal in Japan. It's something that I feel like doesn't go on a lot in, you know, if you're talking about American wrestling and specifically WWE, but even WCW didn't do a lot of tournaments. You know, the tournaments that they did do weren't really all that spectacular. You know, they used to have Battle Brawl back in the day, or Battle Bowl, whatever it was called, the tag team tournaments they used to do, which is kind of interesting concept with the random partners and stuff like that. But you know, the one memorable tournament I can think of in WCW is when they rebooted all the titles after Vince Russo and what's his face took over. WWE now with the Cruiserweight Classic. I mean, this is like the renaissance of wrestling right now. I've talked about this a bunch of times, but the fact that we have the Cruiserweight Classic this year and the revival of the Super J Cup, we just had an amazing Best of the Super Junior tournaments that had a match that broke the internet with Will Ospreay and Ricochet. We got the G1 Climax that's honestly is looking to be like the best G1 Climax in years. Even the first few matches that, you know, that has happened already in day one have been great, and my expectations are through the roof for this G1. But focusing on the Super J Cup and the Cruiserweight Classic, like really you want the Cruiserweight Classic in WWE is pretty much like the Super J Cup in 1994, this gathering of all these world competitors. And it's interesting that you have the Classic and the J Cup, you know, going on in the same year. I thought there was going to be a little bit of a crossover. You know, for a while the Cruiserweight Classic, the roster was a bit of a mystery, and we didn't really find out the full list of participants until just a couple of weeks before the taping started. I haven't looked at any of the spoilers for the tapings. I want to see every episode, you know, spoiler free. So all I know is just the first round matches. But looking at the Super J Cup, again, the first round match is going to take place tomorrow, if you're watching this on Tuesday, or this Wednesday, you know, whenever, August 21st. And You have Jushin Thunder Liger, who's like kind of a staple of the Super J Cup. He's been in every Super J Cup except for the 2004 J Cup, which was hosted by Osaka Pro Wrestling. Now, I gotta admit, I've never seen that J Cup. I've seen every other J Cup except for the 2004 J Cup. And that was held by Osaka Pro. I have a feeling that that was a little bit more of like of a fringe tournament. You know, maybe Osaka Pro bought the rights because they wanted to do something special. Marufuji would win that tournament. I think it's very telling that Marufuji would win again in 2009. Maybe because when New Japan did the Super J Cup again, they wanted to do it on a much bigger scale. I'm making a great comeback right now. I should mention, I don't know if you've been paying attention, but Black Tiger has been destroying me all match, countering everything, and I'm able to use my comeback special. I've been playing this match very strategically, so I had to use my comeback special at the most opportune time. I was able to get my specials going and able to put Black Tiger away with a dragon suplex. The thing I love about playing as Wild Pegasus, my Wild Pegasus calls, I get to play as Benoit as he wrestled in Japan, because Benoit's style in Japan was a lot different than when he started, when he would wrestle in WCW and later WWE. Here we go, Hayabusa and Ultimo Dragon. I'm always rooted for Ultimo Dragon. Let's see if he pulls through. Oh, Hayabusa won it. That's kind of a surprise to me, but whatever. That's going to be a great match. Liger and El Samurai. Got to root for Liger. I mean, perfect world scenario. It's going to be Liger and Wild Pegasus in the finals. Here we go. CIMA and Michinoku. All right, CIMA avenging Taka Michinoku's victory over Great Suzuki. He's like, okay, you got one upset. You're not going to get another one against me. Shima Nobunaga, he made it all the way to the finals of the 2000 Super J Cup. That's another great match you're going to want to watch. You're going to want to watch CIMA against Jushin Thunder Liger, the 2000 finals. I mean, 2000 finals is kind of like an interesting J Cup because it's not the best one, but it also has a lot of great matches and also a lot of cool appearances. You know, Kaz Hayashi was in that tournament. Tiger Mask 4 early on in his years was in that tournament. Gran Hamada was in the tournament, you know, a legend, a junior heavyweight legend. You had Ricky Fuji making a reappearance in the tournament. Curryman, aka Christopher Daniels, in his Curryman gimmick. He was wrestling a lot with Michinoku Pro. And this tournament, the 2000 tournament, was hosted by Michinoku Pro. So it was great to see him. He didn't get far. He only, he got defeated in the first round by Onryo. But yeah, CIMA and Ricky Marvin, if I remember correctly, they had a really good match. Ricky Marvin was a standout for a bit back in the early 2000s. But CIMA and Liger is probably the big match to take away. If you want to watch the 2009 tournament, 2009, you had Prince Devitt and Naomichi Marufuji, and I'm pretty sure New Japan, you see, they don't have a lot of these matches or any of these 2009 matches in New Japan World, but if you go to their YouTube page, they have a lot of these 2009 matches in their YouTube page, which is very interesting. I don't know why they have it on their YouTube channel, but they don't have it in the New Japan World. You'd think they would have it there, right? I don't know why that is, but it's not on New Japan World, but you can get it in, the New Japan YouTube channel. So just go on YouTube after you watch this video and after you watch some of my other Be Better Gamer videos. Go to New Japan, just put in New Japan official channel on YouTube, and just I would suggest when you go to the channel, just search Super J Cup, and you'll see that a lot of the results that come up are the 2009s. I believe they have Devitt and Marufuji. I believe they have Taguchi and Marufuji from the semifinals, and Devitt and Yamato. They might have Gedo and Kota Ibushi. They fought in the first round. Tiger's Mask is in it, which is a very rare appearance by Tiger's Mask in New Japan Pro Wrestling. Liger and Marufuji meet in the first round. Who else is in the tournament? Akira was in the tournament, which was very interesting because Akira was very hot in like the early 2000s. So to see him come back in the 2009 tournament was pretty cool. But yeah, that was the last tournament until the tournament we're having starting now. And I gotta be honest, I kind of fell out of wrestling a few years back. I would say about the mid 2000s, I didn't watch wrestling as much as I did and as much as I do now. I mean, now I would say I'm playing a lot of catch up, and now there's so much great wrestling. I mean, just the fact that I'm doing a video based on the Super J Cup, and did a video on the the Cruiserweight Classic and the best of the Super Juniors and the G1 Climax. But you got Lucha Underground, you got all these great independent promotions like Evolve and Progress and Ring of Honor, and just there's so much wrestling now. I always say at the end of my videos, watch all the wrestling, but it's impossible. It's impossible to watch all the wrestling. I just say that so it encourages you to watch as much wrestling from as many different promotions as you can. I know I'm always trying to be better about it, and I encourage you to do the same, but I'm not as familiar yet with a lot of these guys. I'm sure a lot of these guys are great, but a lot of these promotions like K Dojo, what's another promotion I was unfamiliar with? I'm gonna be honest, I've kind of fell off Noah and what they're doing. Oh, Ryukyu Dragon, I'm not even sure I'm saying that correctly, but Ryukyu Dragon promotion, haven't really done a lot of research onto that. I'm familiar with Dragon Gate, but I gotta be honest, I was more familiar with Dragon Gate back in the day when it first came out, because of how it split off from Terayuan and Michinoku Pro. CMLL, I try to catch as much as I can. You got a representative there. So again, they took a lot of guys from a lot of different promotions. You got representing New Japan, you got, pretty much who you would expect to be in the tournament. You have Kushida, the current IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion. You have Bushi, who's technically representing Los Ingobernables de Japón. We got Ryosuke Taguchi, and Will Ospreay, who's technically representing CAWs. That's gonna be great that Will Ospreay's in the match. I think he's gonna go far. I think he might go all the way to the semis. He's got a pretty easy bracket, I'm not gonna lie. Then you have from Pro Wrestling Noah, you have Daisuke Harada, you have Kenoa, or Keno, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, Taji Ishimori, and then technically from Suzuki Gun, who's in Noah, you have Yoshinobu Kanemaru, and do they have another one? No, and Taichi from Suzuki Gun. Then you have Aita from Dragon Gate. I hope I'm saying these names right. Again, I'm not sure if I'm correctly saying these names because a lot of these guys I'm not completely familiar with their work. You have Aita from Dragon Gate. You have Garukun Mask from Ryukyu Dragon. Have no idea who he is. Very excited to find out who he is with a name like that I can't say for the life of me. And then who else haven't I mentioned? From Matt Sydal from ROH. You got Titan from CMLL. And Yuma Ayogawi from All Japan Pro Wrestling. So, half these guys I'm familiar with. The other half I'm not familiar with. But that's okay because that kind of puts me how I was in the 1994 Super J Cup. Even with the Cruiserweight Classic, I don't know who a lot of those guys are. And that's great. That's great that we still live in a world of wrestling where there's so many great wrestlers out there that can be invited to something like this that's on such a big scale. Because think about it, to be selected, to be hand selected from someone. I don't know if Liger was in charge again of putting together who's in the tournament, or if I'm sure Gato had a lot of involvement because he's the head booker, Gato and Jado, and they obviously being juniors themselves have a lot of familiarity with junior heavyweights around the world. But to be hand selected, to be invited to a tournament like this, to be invited to the Cruiserweight Classic, the G1, I think that's a big deal. Even the PWG Best of the, Los Angeles tournament, and to be invited to something like that says that your work is respected, and you might not be, the biggest star out there, but you're definitely worthy enough to be involved. Hell, even looking back at the early Super J Cup, you had Rey Mysterio and Psychosis fought in an exhibition match, and rumor was that Rey Mysterio Jr., he wasn't brought in to participate in the actual tournament because the New Japan guys all thought he was too small. So they were like, we'll just give him an exhibition match. And him and Psychosis, they went out there and they almost stole the show, and then they were like, we gotta have him back. And then that's when he did a few more Japanese dates. But, the Super J Cup can be an opportunity for a lot of these guys who might not have, worldwide recognition to make an impact, make a statement, and maybe surprise us and go a lot farther than we think they were. So here we go, Wild Pegasus and Liger. I'm so glad this happened this way. Again, I didn't plan it. I can't really decide who's gonna win the match unless I myself play as them. And I wanted to do this in one sitting, so I was hoping I wouldn't lose any match because I didn't want to re-record, and B, I was hoping I would end up, honestly, with Wild Pegasus and Liger in the finals. The two winners, the first winners of the Super J Cup, back-to-back, 94, Wild Pegasus, Liger winning it in 95, two of my favorite wrestlers. Liger is in this year's tournament. Isn't that crazy? He was in the 1994 Super J Cup, and here we are, 2016, 12 years later, and he is in the Super J Cup as well. He's got a first round match with Aita from Dragon Gate. Again, I'm not crazy familiar with who Aita is. Aita Kobayashi. I'm sure he's really good. He might be the best junior in Dragon Gate if he was invited, if he was the only junior to be invited from Dragon Gate. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, if you know of other juniors that are more popular than him in Dragon Gate, and maybe you were really upset because you're a huge Dragon Gate fan, you're like, oh man, so and so should have got in. But I'm excited just to see how far Liger's gonna go. I don't know. I don't think he's going to make it past round 2 if he does make it a round 2. I don't think any big veteran is going to win this match. If you look at the past winners, you had Wild Pegasus winning, in the standout year for Wild Pegasus. Next year, he would win the Best of Super Juniors. Liger wins in 95. Liger wins again in 2000. I really wanted CIMA to win in 2000. I'm not going to lie. I remember watching that tournament and kind of being disappointed that CIMA didn't win, but still excited that Liger won. But CIMA could have used that win more than Liger, but Liger was just on fire in like 1999, 2000, and even into 2001. I don't know what was going on with Liger, man, but he just all of a sudden was like, yeah, remember how good I was about 5-6 years ago? Yeah, I'm better. I'm way better than that now. Like, he just was on fire in the late 90s, early 2000s. 2004, you had Marufuji again. I think it was kind of like a little bit of a fringe J Cup. So he would win again on a big platform in 2009. And that set up Marufuji going on to do great things and transitioning to being a heavyweight, which is crazy. I think Kushida, honestly, I know he's kind of small height-wise, but I think Kushida might follow down that path. I think Kushida is going to be the next great junior. Obviously, Prince Devitt, aka Finn Balor, you could say, is already going down that path, being a junior who transitioned into heavyweight. Kenny Omega is another one recently. But looking at the Super J Cup, in terms of who's still going to be at the top 10 years from now, you got to look at guys like Kushida, like Will Ospreay. Those are the two guys that really stand out to me. Will Ospreay, man, he's been on fire lately. He won the Best of the Super Junior tournament. You got to think he's going to make it far, if not to the finals. He'll definitely be in the semifinals. I see him going pretty far. Taguchi you might see Taguchi and Will Ospreay rematch in the semis, but this isn't New Japan's tournament. So you got to think they're going to probably give a lot of shine to the non-New Japan guys. And this is also something that I'm really looking forward to, is that the New Japan junior heavyweight roster right now is mostly filled with non-Japanese wrestlers. Now, that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it kind of takes away from the aura, the mystique of the New Japan, junior heavyweight division, because a lot of these guys, we're so familiar with them in the States. We're so familiar with them wrestling in PWG or Ring of Honor. You know what I mean? So I really am desiring to see a lot of these other guys who aren't part of New Japan, because I haven't seen their work, and it's hard to find, current day Noah and All Japan and Michinoku Pro. You gotta do a lot of extra legwork, and it takes a lot of extra time, and especially if you can't do it in a legal way, downloading them off of torrents, and it's a lot, and that's probably why I haven't caught up with them as much as I've caught up with New Japan World and WWE and Lucha Underground and even TNA and Ring of Honor, because All that stuff, you can just go to like their websites and watch their clips. You can go to their YouTube channels, you can go to their streaming sites and watch it. You know, a lot of these other promotions are a lot more smaller. They don't have that, you know, worldwide reach, so it's a little bit harder to find their footage, much like it was back then. Even and it was much more harder back then. But you know, I still encourage you to seek them out. I encourage you to watch the Super J Cup, watch the, you know, WWE version of the Super J Cup, the Cruiserweight Classic. I want to see more of that. I think WWE is going in a great direction. I think the fact that you have that going on in WWE and the J Cup happening again, I think it says a lot about the current state of wrestling. I think we finally reach a point where promotions are no longer really trying to beat each other. They're not trying to put each other out of business. You know, we're past the era of the Monday Night Wars. We're past the era of the territories trying to draw more money than other territories. You know, I think promotions now realize that in order to survive, in order for wrestling to survive and be respected the world over, they have to work together. You know, yeah, you're going to have your exclusive guys and your exclusive promotions, but a lot of these smaller promotions that aren't really a threat to, say, WWE, to, say, New Japan, I think it benefits both parties if they do events like this where they bring in talent, even if it's for like one night or one tournament or a series of events, because it exposes not just, you know, new talent in your promotion, but it also helps put eyes on these smaller promotions, which means you get more fans to those smaller promotions, which means the smaller promotions will be able to make more money and keep bringing in better guys and training better guys. Because let's be honest, let's be real, I think the reason why WWE is doing so well right now is because they are pulling a lot from the independents and around the world. They spent many years trying to homegrown guys, and the results, you know, besides like that first class where they had Lesnar and Orton and Cena and Batista, they haven't really done much since then. You need guys who are world traveled, who have been wrestling all over the in all different types of promotions, all different types of styles, and then when they're ready, you bring them in to, you know, the big companies, and then they're able to perform in front of the biggest audience. But they need that time to grow in smaller companies and smaller audiences, and give them a shine every now and then when you have these tournaments. But you're also letting your fans know there's great wrestling out there. It's not just us. I think WWE is putting a lot of eyes on wrestling outside of WWE right now, because they're bringing in so many guys, you know, from Ring of Honor, from New Japan, from all these other promotions, and they're actually saying where they're coming from. And I think that's a great thing, and that's what excites me about the J Cup, is that I'm gonna watch the J Cup tomorrow or Thursday probably, because, you know, it comes on so late. I'm on the East Coast, so it's gonna be like at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. I'm not waking up that early. I'll just watch it when I'm supposed to be working at my job. And you know, I'm gonna watch the dudes from K Dojo or Ryukyu Dragon and be like, oh my god, I gotta follow this promotion. I gotta follow these guys. I mean, that's what happened with WCW. I saw Ultimate Dragon. I was like, who is this guy? I gotta find out more. I gotta find out who Liger is, who Rey Mysterio Jr. is. You know, and that's what excites me about the J Cup. And that's what excites me. That's why I was so, you know, when I first started this channel, I knew one day I was gonna do a Let's Play about the Super J Cup. It was one of my most influential moments as a wrestling fan. You know, I put it at the top of, say, like, you know, the early King of the Rings or the Royal Rumble in terms of like events that always got me excited. And the fact that it was such a rare event, you know, it really made it special. But now that it's back, I think it's gonna introduce, you know, to a lot of new wrestling fans, to a lot of wrestling fans that have maybe been jaded or are coming back. You know, we all go through our moments where we go in and out of wrestling because of life. You know, it happens with anything. It happens with video games. It happens with movies. You become such a huge fan of one thing, and then all of a sudden you just get distracted and you know, become a fan of something else. So now I think a lot of wrestling fans are starting to put their eyes back on their product that they haven't in a long time. And that's why you need stuff like this, because it's an ode to things of the past. If you've heard of the Super J Cup back in the day but don't really remember it or have never seen it, now you can see it in the modern era with new guys, and I'm just super excited. I don't care who wins. At the end of the day, with a tournament like this, it's not like the best of the Super Juniors or the G1 Climax or even the Royal Rumble, you know, these things that happen annually that have storyline ramifications. Something like this, I'm just excited that it's happening during the G1. I think that's very smart, you know, to put it around the G1, because you already have eyes on the New Japan product for the heavyweight, so now they're going to watch this tournament. You know, there's an incentive there to be subscribed to New Japan for these next couple of months. So whoever wins, great. You know, great for them. I hope they do this. You know, if they do it every year, I won't say go that far, but I hope this becomes like they should do it like a World Cup, like every 4 years, you know? Every 4 years they do the Super J Cup. And who knows, maybe 4 years down the line, when they do another Super J Cup, we'll see some WWE guys in there. We'll see some Impact Wrestling guys if, you know, TNA is still around. We'll see, you know, so much other crossbreeding before the, you know, between the different promotions all around the world. We can only dream, right? And you know, who would have thought, you know, I always dreamt that WWE would do a tournament like this, and here we are, you know, almost 20 years later, more than 20 years later, and they're finally doing it. So there you go. There's my excitement meter for the Super J Cup. It's through the roof if you haven't already been aware of it. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed the matches. I hope you enjoyed my Wild Pegasus call. Again, it's all in the description below if you want to make them yourself. Got a lot of other great Let's Plays coming up, so you know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm almost at 600 subscribers. You know what that means. Call subscriber coming up. If you don't know about my call subscriber promotion, go ahead and check that video out on my channel homepage. I am Be Better Gamer. As always, watch the Super J Cup, but more importantly, keep watching all the wrestling. Thank you.